play a little bit of Hades and Stardew.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am very 2D boy crazy, but in person, I'm. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Hello, I am from the land of all the technical errors
It's okay.
and stuff.
I was eating too, so this is We said we would meet in the morning. It is now early afternoon.
It is now. It's morning somewhere.
Morning somewhere, depending on your time zone.
Yeah, it's some of us slept through all their alarms. Some of us watched the episode today.
Both of us.
Okay, so when I say land of technical issues, like not only was my webcam all jacked up, like for whatever reason, today I also tried to watch the episode on my normal browser that I watched it many of times, and Hulu just wouldn't open.
Okay.
So it was a good 10 to 15 minutes of me like, why is this not working? To I remembered I have Chrome and opened up Chrome, and lo and behold, everything worked.
Oh, surprise.
Yep.
Yeah.
You would need everything. Which is funny because like the browser I'm using literally is just Chrome under a different title. Which they all kind of are now. Except for like Firefox.
It's all Chrome here.
Mm-hmm. Shiny. But yeah, it's my brain had an idea and then it left.
That's okay.
So it must have been a real good idea.
Brains do
like
that.
we could look at the discussion activity on the little thing and ask, why is little Gideon the worst Gravity Falls? Hold on, loading article. Character. Well, those are spoilers.
Well, is our fun fact for this week a spoiler? Because I know some of them have been.
No, it's on this tab. It said, there are also puzzles at the end credits.
Wow. What fact number is this?
24.
Took 24 facts to get there.
Yeah. So images of the symbol that make up a puzzle can be spotted at the end of each show. This I didn't know. And when you arrange them correctly, a picture of Stan and someone related to Stan is formed. This is just one of the many puzzles added by Hirsch and is for his dedicated fans. So let's see.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, here I'll send you the picture of all of them together. And it's like I wouldn't have put that together, but it's interesting.
Good for people.
Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Wait a second. That's only for one season.
I'm not going to do the math on it.
I'm wondering if this is just for season 2, because a lot of these symbols
or season 2 references
look like one of them is from this episode.
Yeah, and then the other one is coming up soon. The bottom right.
And the bottom left was from last episode. So
yeah, we'll see when we get there. But yes. So if you haven't figured it out yet, either from the title or from our fun fact, continuing our watch of Gravity Falls, with it being fact number 24, season 2, episode 4, I know the name of it, sock opera.
mm-hmm.
I was gonna say sock puppet. I was like, no, that's just kind of the theme of the Mabel's storyline in this episode.
Don't make a mockery of his things.
Look, he'll just delete you out of his cell phone.
I also just looked over and saw that my Audacity recording is super low for whatever reason. So, sorry, I might get a little bit louder in your ears. Hopefully.
I'm just gonna lower it in my headset a little bit, and it all ends up even.
Yeah, the playback volume went way down. Sorry, this might get a little bit louder for you as I kind of bump this up. Hopefully, I don't know. That doesn't seem right.
Up is down,
Anyway,
down is up.
nothing has really changed. So this one's going to require a little bit more editing on my end. Yay, technology.
Woo. When it works, it works,
It
and when it doesn't, it never will again.
it must have heard me say, I'm literally thinking about replacing my mic and audio interface.
And they threw a tantrum.
Yeah, well, they're just
They're
proving
striking.
my point. It's pretty much I found the mic that I've been looking at, which I was like, man, it'd be nice to have that. It went from like it used to be like a $600 mic, and now it's like way, 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 way cheaper than that
Is it a Shure
used.
mic?
No, it's a real electric, an RE mic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know a lot of people like the Shure microphones, but
Yeah, that I was literally talking about this yesterday with a friend of mine, and they they're decent mics, but it's like a lot of people buy them and use them, and they're set up for a certain vocal range,
mm,
and not a lot of people have that vocal range.
that makes sense.
Um, well, the mic I'm looking at, I can send you a link. I not that
I'm
I
not really
wouldn't
in the
expect you to
business
get
as
it.
much anymore.
Yeah, and so but now I've been having a lot of problems with this interface here, and my friend who does voice acting work, he got this new one. I'm like, I never heard of that one, and it turns out it's a high end one, and to buy it new, it's like $500. And I'm like, I don't think I could get that, but actually, I don't know. I don't think I know I can't get it, but I was curious because there's a site I look at that is like, it's pretty much eBay for musical equipment,
Okay.
and the mic that I was looking at, I'm like, that's actually in a price that wouldn't kill me financially. And then I was like, you know what? That interface, I think I can get both of them for the price of what one of these things would cost new.
Mm,
So now I'm like, do I want to do that? And then I have a morning like this where it's like, you're really
yes.
building the case.
Yes, I want to do this.
So, well, we'll see. But anyway, yeah. I can't think of a fun question because we talked about a bunch of fun
We
things,
did talk
and
a
we're
lot.
no, yeah. How dare you? You talk too much. Yep, and I don't know. We're not reading the same book anymore, so we can't rant and rave about that.
But yes. I forgot about this episode. That's what I'll put out
Same
there.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a pretty significant episode, all things considered, in the forms of like lore and building up to the end of the show, and I just did not remember this one at all.
yeah. Like I forgot about it until like the last chunk. I'm like, oh yeah, this one. And you figured with my total love for a certain character is in this episode, the best character ever.
He's
You
almost the
figure I would
main
have remembered
character in
it.
it.
He is always the main character in everything, even in shows that aren't Gravity Falls. Can you imagine like just watching one of the it's not to sound like a real old person. One of the movie things where you're just like, yeah, I was watching the new Mission Impossible, and then a giant triangle man showed up and ruined the universe. Take that, Tom Cruise, with your stunts and good hair. Do you think his hair's real?
I don't think there's much in Hollywood celebrities that are real anymore.
There's not a lot of stuff that are real in most celebrities.
Because, like, what was it? I was looking at pictures and people were like, hey, did you know this person has had subtle plastic surgery over the last 10 years? I was like, no, I've never noticed anything weird. And then they showed just like, year to year, it just looks like they kind of got older. And then
Hmm.
they did a back to back from 10 years ago to now. I was like, oh, their nose was almost twice the size, but they just got it slowly like readjusted so nobody noticed. The magic that
Hmm.
Hollywood can pull off. It's just I just assume
Yeah.
everything I see is Photoshop or
Yeah. Well, what is it? The like kind of how we have like like hairstylists and like people that like do nails and all that stuff
Makeup
like kind of every
artists.
corner.
Yeah.
I was like, Korea has like that, but it's all plastic surgery. South Korea, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's always a fun thing, seeing memes and stuff when people realize that not all celebrities, not just American, Korean, or anything. It's like, no, they're not always naturally looking that way.
Hmm.
What do you mean?
What? They don't always look this picture perfect 24/7? Well, there's a lot of
You take
people. There's a lot of
you
people
take
that
that
go
out of
into
your mouth.
that. But
But yeah, well, guys, let me tell you, I always look like in case there was any doubt.
if I seem lower energy, is because I've been busy all weekend.
If I seem lower energy, I don't really have an excuse. I should have went to bed earlier. That's my excuse.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah,
Friday, I went to a concert and I ended up being right in front of the stage. And I was like, oh, this is
that's
sweet.
normally where you watch a show,
A
in
concert
front of the
specifically.
stage.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, just like I was,
I
I
know.
had to physically survive when the bigger bands came on. But I did it. I only have a few bruises. Oh, do I still have bruises on my arm? Or are these healed up? These might be healed up. I had bruises here, and I don't know where these
Hmm.
came from. But I still have a bruise on my knee and a bruise on my thigh from holding myself up because there was no bars or security. It was just stage. It
Uh-huh.
was just stage. Then Saturday,
Okay.
I went to Cape May and we went and walked around the zoo for a few hours. Then we sat and read for like a couple hours, and then we went out to eat. But all in all, I think walked like 3.5 miles throughout that day. And then Sunday, I went to Grounds for Sculpture. My friend surprised me with a trip to there. And again, walked another like three some odd miles and in the sun and all of that. So I'm kind of just like, I'm awake. I'm very happy to be sitting.
Uh, I I can't really not that this is like a contest, so it's not like I don't know if we're just comparing weekends. I sat and stunk while I waited for caulk to dry in my bathtub because I bought the wrong one. But now it works and it doesn't look like the goo from Prey is growing out of it. So that's nice. Um, I also walked. I've also walked that much, pretty much. I think it was like 3.7 miles, and I was planning on doing that earlier today,
The
but
alarms.
yeah. So once we're done here, I'm gonna go do that.
Sounds good.
Gotta get the miles in, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I did notice this like Sunday. I'm like, wow, because of walking and everything, I'm getting a lot more sun than I've gotten in like the past 4 years.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I actually have some form of color on my face besides the blinding beacons of Gondor
Yeah, I
when I wear
was.
shorts in the sun.
I wasn't expecting for me to get burnt or anything sitting out in the sun, but my forearms are burnt because of like where we sat to read. There was no shade or anything, and I forgot. I didn't
Hmm.
think to put on sunblock, so yeah. I
Yeah,
I also burnt.
I I'm sitting here and I was like, I need to put on sunscreen before I walk. And then I'm looking out, it's like, yeah, it's kind of downcast today. And then I also realized I don't own any.
Well,
I did. I don't. I think I've thrown out because it was like expired or something. So I'll have to look into that. But anyway, you guys aren't here to listen to all our complaints of age and time and nature. Just like how I said, congrats, Hop, on reading buy 32 books for your birthday, and she's like, I'm not 32. And I'm like, that was just my go-to number. Just please do not cancel our friendship.
okay.
Um,
If we have run out of whatever is in our brains. I know I'm running out of thoughts in my brain.
Well, we need more thoughts. Well, hold up. Like, I can come up with something. Do you know that a pomegranate can say hello if you cut it correctly? Okay, she's giving me the signal. I'm rolling my die.
Tune in next week to find out how a pomegranate says hello when you cut it open.
Trust me, in the 1.5 weeks that it takes to record the next episode, I will completely forgot I said that.
I'll make a
I rolled
note.
a 15. Oh, I'm not
Hey,
looking.
a 14.
Oh, dump. I gotta go.
You said it before I hit the button, so it counts. It counts.
Dang it, I rolled a 19.
It's meant to be.
Okay, yes, I have to explain the fun episode, the sock opera. All right, so this episode starts up with Mabel and Dipper in the Gravity Falls library. They have the laptop. Sue's finished repairing it, and they're all like, "Man, this is cool. We're gonna unravel the mysteries and all this stuff." And Mabel's like, "Oh yeah, let's go!" And they pretty much, yeah, they do like a fancy high five as they get ready to boot up the computer, and then alarm reads just as dogs are freaking out outside. Chill out, I'm recording. Anyway, um, yeah, it pops up saying unauthorized access forbidden, and then it reads enter password, and like Dipper's like, of course the password, to where Mabel pretty much says, "Don't worry, bro. With your brains and my laser focus." Okay, that sounds like some of our conversations we have before we start. There's literally nothing that can distract us from. Did you hear that? And we hear singing as we turn around and see a turtleneck, black turtleneck wearing, blonde ponytail wearing puppet man. Well, he's not a puppet man, but
He is
he
a
is
man with
a
his puppets.
man with no hands but just puppets. Um, and it's uh sorry, it's like as soon as we started recording, like everyone in like a mile radius decided to freak out. Like there's police or ambulance or no, I don't think it's fire truck because they're right next to me. Would have heard that. But there's a bunch of sirens going off right now.
Mm.
But yeah, so this person sings is like, all my life I'm dreaming of love that is right for me, and now I know her name, and it is. And he turns to the kids, sing it with me, kids, and all the kids are like, literacy. and um and and it's like pretty much like it goes on a little bit more, and then as the production continues, the he has a bee puppet and a book puppet, and they just start making out pretty much. Uh,
The puppets
and
together,
the
not
puppets,
the other part.
not 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 the kids and the puppets. It's not that kind of show, guys. There shouldn't be that kind of show. So anyway, they do that, and it cuts to Mabel because earlier she had a pop-up book, where it's just yeah, she was like, "I'm ready, baby," and then opens it up to the pop-up book that says "Mom," well, the baby's saying "Mama," and this one she has a heart, and she's going bup 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 bup, but she opens up the heart, kind of going and different like, oh boy.
He already
Um,
knows.
yeah. Oh, and this is the theme song right here. I felt like the okay, I guess the theme song happened, and I just literally blanked it out of my brain from happening.
Yeah, it was pretty early on.
Yeah, I was sitting there, I'm like, did the theme song happen? I literally don't remember it happening. And now I wonder if Chrome skipped it.
I know some places you can skip it. I can't remember if
But
Hulu does.
yeah, well, Hulu does like they have the option to skip the
Mm.
beginning and or depending on the show. I know I don't remember. So anyway, yeah, so Gabe, well, it doesn't I don't think he introduces himself anymore, but the guy's name is Gabe Benson. And he as Mabel goes over to introduce himself, and but she admits that she's like, I'm just getting over Romando, and then of course Puppet Boy shows up, and Dipper's like, oh yeah, Romando. Did not care for him. As, and he's like, okay, there's 7.2 million 8-letter words. And he's like, I'll type you read, as Mabel's already gone, and just Gabe is singing some more and singing more to the kids and doing his puppet show. and does like creepy puppet talking where he's just like as the kids leave and he's like, "You did a good job. Hey, good job today, you guys." As the book puppet looks to the bee puppet and is like, "You were late on cue." And the bee's like, "What?" And the other puppet was just like, "Hey, be good to each other. We're all stars." As Mabel rolls in on the cart, like, "Hello," and as they talk, it was a funny line in my head. Hold up, wait a second, Gabe Benson.
You okay?
Hold on, I something clicked in my head. I have to look something up real quick. Uh, Mainly from one line. Gabe Benson might be a reference to something else. No, okay.
I can check the illusions for you while you continue about the
Yeah, no, I was
episode.
wondering because he calls himself the Master of Puppets, which is very similar to a Metallica song, or literally called Master of Puppets. Or, yeah. And I was like, hold up, is Gabe Benson a Metallica, someone in Metallica? It might be maybe one of the writers for a song. I don't know who writes their music. But anyway, um, so yeah, pretty much Mabel and Gabe are talking, and she's like, "Man, you're really good at that." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm crazy about puppets and all this stuff." And Gabe's like, "Oh, like, well, when you show, you can't be a puppet fanatic if you're not doing puppet shows, right?" She's like, "Yeah, totally." And there's like, "What's the details?" Yeah. As we go back to Dipper, as he kind of puts in a password and it doesn't work. And as Mabel shows him, it's like, Dipper, how hard do you think it would be to write and compose a sock puppet rock opera with lights, original music, and live pyrotechnics by Friday? As Dipper's like, wait, what? And yeah, she realized that she got in over her head as she's freaking out and was just like, got lost in his eyes, his ponytail. They're gonna be so embarrassed on Friday if I don't have anything. Um, to where Dipper's like, well, we were gonna crack the password. Like, what about, you know, mystery twins? And Mabel's like, this is just for a couple days. I'll promise I'll give you a password. Just please help me do that. And Dipper's like, okay. As she hugs him and then starts screaming, yeah, he's number, thank you. This guy's number one. He's like, shut up, we're in the library. um, and then, but as they're leading the library, like you can kind of, you see like their shadows kind of walking away, or maybe it's just them walking away as you see a shadow of the true protagonist, Bill Cipher, just floating in the background, just like, hey,
The
doesn't
triangle
talk.
just hovering.
Yep, with with arms and legs.
I
Can you do that? Can you do that with your fingers too?
don't think so.
Yep, I think we both did the same thing. We're
Motion.
just like, brain broke. So anyway, it kind of cuts to everybody in the living room working on the sock puppets as Mabel shares the name Glove Story, a sock opera. Um, and it's like just a warning: people's eyes will get wet because they'll be crying from laughing. Wow, hear me? Because they'll be crying from laughing from how tragic it is. As Dipper has the sock puppet glued to his head, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And everyone's like, "Dude, it's all cool. Just like you got to just go with what Mabel does and live in the moment." And everyone's like, "Yeah." As Stan walks in, just like, "Yeah, I'm not even gonna ask." And
Yeah, because
uh,
everybody in unison starts singing, finishing her song for her, right?
mhm,
Because she has the Mabel puppets like puppet boy, you're the boy I, and everybody's.
says love as Waddles even gets in on it.
And Stan is just like, nope.
Damn, not today. I'm done. Um, so Mabel, and so now later that day, Mabel's like has all her sock puppets like in all around her, like in her bed, and she's like, "Hey, good night, everybody." And it's like, and then even as a Gabe Benson puppet, as she's like, uh, she's like, "Hey, good night, my babies," and then takes the Gabe puppet and makes it kiss with the Mabel puppet, making kissy noises. And then he's like, soon, Gabe Benson. And before she can finish her thought, the computer beeps at Dipper's like, wrong password. And just is like freaking out. And Mabel's like, hey, you better stop and take care of yourself. Because last time you were the sleep deprived, you started to eat your own shirt. As we go and look, and Dipper's eating a shirt, and he's like, "Yeah, just a few more tries." As he goes up to the roof, and he's just getting more and more frustrated, and he's just like, "I can't take this anymore." And so pretty much asks, like, after a little tantrum of just there has to be a shortcut or clue. Who would know anything about secret codes? As the wind blows and the moon turns into an eye as bricks form around it to reveal Bill Cipher. As all the color disappears from the world, and Bill's like, I think I know a guy. And um so he but yeah, Bill, like, he shows up and he's like, hey, you know what? Well, he calls him Pine Tree. He's like, hats off to you. And as he takes off his hat, the whole world turns sideways, which Dipper's like, oh my goodness. And before he puts his hat back on, recorrecting the world, as Bill asks, did you miss me? Admit it, you missed me. And yeah, Bill, I did. I'm glad you're back.
Not in Dipper's character, in D-Payne's character.
In me. Yes. We need more Bills in fiction and everything. Um all right. Anyway, yeah, Dipper, rightfully so, just like, you worked with Gideon, you tried to destroy my uncle's mind, and I was like, hey man, no hard feelings. And I just been keeping as his as he becomes bigger and his voice becomes lower and his eye even turns red. He's like, eye on you. And then goes back normal. And then must say I've been impressed. And I was like, yeah, okay. And it kind of goes back and forth, where I think the reason why I like Bill, it's just like I want to know, like, how much did they have to convince heads of Disney to allow Bill to do half of the things he does? Because he's like, hey, you always he's like, you deserve a prize. Here's a head that's always screaming, as it just throws a disembodied head. As Dipper's like, ah, and as then Bill snaps his finger, as like the head, like skin to muscle to like skull and everything, like layer by layer by layer. Like, it wasn't graphic, but it's still like, it doesn't seem like something Disney would show.
I know.
Um, so yeah, pretty much the whole point, Bill's like, hey, I can help you. And we just want one little favor. And Dipper's like, no. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that, dude. And he's like, remember who defeated you last time? And Bill's like, yeah, yeah, defeated me. And for audio listeners, big parentheses around defeated me. And he's like, Bill's like, all right, well, if you ever change your mind, whatever, later, nerd. And just disappears. And then it's just like, hey, you want to hear my impression about you in 3 seconds? And he just like goes, ah, and shakes his head. And then Dipper like looks at him questioning, and then wakes up screaming in the same exact way. And it's just, I think he also like, there's a little animation, it's just like, what the heck? Just says it before walking away. Um, so now Stan is in the kitchen, and Mabel's holding the puppet Stan, which is a paper bag version of Stan. And Stan is still just like, I'm ignoring this. Just... and excuse me, Dipper comes in, definitely not sleeping well or at all. I think canonically they say he hasn't slept. And Stan's like, whoa, bag check for Dipper's eyes, huh? No one. And they just ignore him. And like Mabel's like, yeah, I told you to get some sleep, have some Mabel juice, which as Stan compares it, is like, it's like coffee and nightmares had a baby.
Yeah, and
Oh
she's
yeah.
holding up a blender, and she's like, it even has plastic dinosaurs in it.
Hmm. Um, yeah, and then Dipper kind of tells Mabel, hey, I had a Bill with dream it.
Nice.
I had a dream with Bill in it. Um, and they kind of go back and forth, and she's like, yeah, Dipper pretty much tells her, yeah, he was offering the code to the laptop if I helped him out with whatever. And it's just like, um, and he's like, it's not like I actually trust. It's like, there's no way he would actually do that. He's like, and Mabel's like, don't worry, we're back in action. I'm going to help you crack that code. And just let me hand my pups up to the production crew, which Candy and Grenda are outside covered in socks and holding stuff, and Candy's just like, read the script, very emotional. And Grenda, I cried like 8 times. And then Gabe shows up, um, and it's like, he's just like, he has just bleeding by, helps me dry out my ponytail after a shower as he takes off his helmet and shakes his hair as Grenda's like, hubbity, hubbity. And then Candy whispers, um, well, in the transcript, it's Korean, so I didn't hear it well enough.
She does have the subtitle though.
Yeah, it does have the subtitle, which is like, I must steal him away from Mabel. um, and then and somebody was like, "Yeah, it's great to see you. Just working on puppet show. It has puppets." And Gabe's like, "Oh, this is so refreshing. Love this, all this stuff." And it's just like, unlike the girl from last night's puppet show, single stitch on one puppet and a cross stitch on another. I don't understand any of those terms, but anyway. And he's like, I was like, cross, huh? As Mabel responds. And he's like, naturally, delete her off my cell phone, contactless. And then Mabel just being totally smooth, naturally. And Gabe's like, yeah, okay, well, let me down. And I'm still confused how he's able to rollerblade
On this dirt.
on, yeah. And right before he goes off, Grenda, being herself, is like, Gabe, you look pretty sweaty. You should really take your shirt off, right? Aren't we all thinking that? As Gabe probably chooses to ignore that and skates away. um, and so this puts Mabel into production mode as she's like, oh my goodness, we got to get all this stuff done and fix everything. And like, they're all trying to, as Grenda accidentally rips the arms off of her own puppet. And Candy asks how many eyes does the face have again? As there's like
10 eyes just
10
glued to
eyes
one
on one
puppet.
puppet, yeah. And then Seuss in the background, I didn't mention this earlier, but Seuss and Wendy are trying to get a whole bunch of set pieces on top of a car. I didn't yeah, I guess I heard that as he falls, he says, I'm not okay. So, and no one decides to check up on that. Mabel freaks out. He's like, okay, I'm back on production. Get me my lint roller. As Dipper's like, whoa, I thought you were going to say you're going to help me. And Mabel's like, this sock crisis bumped up to a code Argyle. The laptop can wait. To where Dipper, rightfully so, gets upset and just like, you're obsessed with this. And Mabel's like, well, look at you. You look like a vampire, not the hot kind. And just definitely like big bags under his eyes and like just and he's just but then brings him like, you said you're gonna help me, and he's like, and Mabel is like, yeah, well, I'll help you with tickles, and tickles him, and he's just like, pretty much that's like the last part, and he's like, I'm done with you, and kind of leaves, excuse me, as he goes up into the attic just trying to type in different passwords and types in Mabel's useless, and just like pretty much he puts in too many passwords as the computer's like initiate data erase in 5 minutes, and only has a chance to do one more password. As the world turns black and white, Bill appears. He's like, well, someone's desperate, hey. And Dipper's like, no. And Bill's like, look, all I want, he's like, look, he's like, you just need to hear my demands. As he kind of Bill's still telling Dipper, hey, I can help you. And Dipper's like, look at the computer, which has 4 minutes, and he's like, what do you want me to do? Eat my soul, rip up my teeth, replace my eyes with baby heads or something? And Bill's like, geez, kid, all I want is a puppet, as he looks towards like this pile of puppets, and kind of goes and plays just like, look, Mabel, he's like, well, Mabel worked hard, and he's like, what's one little puppet to play? Excuse me, I'm gonna get a quick swig of non-sponsored drink.
Non-sponsored. How could you? Cover the label.
I thought I was. um yeah, pretty much it's Bill brings up like, what has Mabel actually done for you in the past, and it brings up very particular memories of just when he sacrificed what he wanted for her, as in uh
Yeah, it's got.
tourist trapped. The time traveler's pig I remember is he reverted time back so she could have waddles.
Mm-hmm.
Uh what was the deep end? The deep end, I'm trying to remember he sacrificed his job, so you can do that. I'm trying to remember what in Tourist Trapped what he did. Because that's the first one. That's book one.
Is it just helping her deal with her gnome boyfriends?
I guess.
I don't remember what the scene specifically is, but
Yeah, it just said that I'm just reading the transcript and it says back to the Tourist Trapped episode, which is the first one, and I'm like, I don't
I
remember
mean,
what it was, but
Dipper didn't necessarily sacrifice anything, but he did have to save her from becoming the gnome queen.
yeah, maybe that's what it was. Where it's just yeah, maybe not sacrificing, but just being
Dipper
there to
has to
help
help
her.
her, yeah.
And yeah, is the pretty much there's 30 seconds left on the clock, and he's like, yeah, it's okay, it's just one puppet, fine. And shakes his hand, and Bill's like, all right, eeny, meeny, miny, and then
Well, Dipper asks which puppet are you gonna pick? Because
oh
Dipper
yeah.
was looking at a pile of sock puppets across
Well,
from them.
so was Bill when before he made the deal,
Mm-hmm.
and Bill pretty much goes like, yeah, let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, and then turns back to Dipper and says, you, as he rips uh pretty much Dipper's soul out as Bill takes over his body, and Dipper's like, wait a second, what did you do to my body? He's like, sorry, kid, you're my puppet. As he throws the computer on the ground and steps on it. Well, more than steps on it, crushes it. Um, Dipper, right for the so is freaking out as Bill's like just like walking around cackling and just like not walking correctly. And he's just and the way they tell the difference is that Dipper, his eyes are now two Bill Cipher eyes.
Bipper.
Yep, Bipper. Which kind of comes in like that kind of mind, like the way it shows body swapping later. Is well, we've seen it in the carpet episode, is like to show who's who. It just switches like their eyes pretty much.
Dipper's bags under his eyes.
Yes. So anyway, Phil's like, oh man, it's been so long since I haven't a body, as he's slapping himself in the face, like, and just is super loving. He's like, yeah, Payne is hilarious. And two eyes, this thing's deluxe. As he like is looking all around his body and everything. Um, and another drink. As Dipper asks, like, why are you doing this? And Bill like pretty much lets him know, hey, you've been getting too close to some major answers. And he's like, I have some plans coming on, and I don't need you to get in my way. So the laptop was the first part. And he's like, now I gotta just destroy your journal. And he's like, yeah, race down to the bottom as normal people walk down the stairs, just tips backwards and tumbles down like a slinky.
I was gonna say he didn't exactly walk.
Yes. uh Look, it's how normal people walk. Like, doesn't that how everyone goes down stairs? So Dipper kind of immediately gets control of his ghost form, because in every kind of literature thing I write where someone gets an ethereal kind of form like that, it takes them like a month to actually, unless they're the main character. So I guess Dipper's the main character to get control of the body and control of that. And it's he's going around trying to find that stuff, and he finally goes into the kitchen as Bill's like, human soda, I'm gonna drink it like a person, and just pours the whole thing in his mouth and then all over his open eyes while laughing. He's like, where do you keep that journal anyway? And as he's just slamming his arm repeatedly in a drawer,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be around here somewhere. He's like, he's just like, boy, these arms are durable. And David's like, I hid in it. And he's like, pretty much, you'll never find it in a million years. And Mabel's like, Hey Dipper, borrowed your journal from the prop of the show. Hope you don't mind. I'm gonna leave before you progress process this sentence. Bye. And and they both just look at each other, and Bill's like, "Well, I'll see ya." And and where pretty much Bill tells him as Dipper's constantly trying to get attention of Mabel, Stan, anybody, and Bill is like the only one that can interact with him. He's like, "Welcome to the mind space, kid. Without a vessel to possess, you're basically a ghost." Um, so and then Sue sees him. Hey, Dipper, there you are, and like pretty much gets in the car. Uh, Dipper's like, "Yeah, help me," and he's like, "Yeah, we're head." Says to Bill, uh, Dipper, pretty much like, "Hey, we're heading to the theater," and he's like, "Do you need a ride?" And he's like, "Oh, anything for you, Red." And doesn't Wendy like give him like a like, what did you say? Look,
Yeah, he's never called her that.
yeah, um, and and that's when Dipper's like yelling at him. It's like, "I'm gonna stop you, Bill. Like, there's anything before you get the journal, I'm gonna stop you." As Bill like just slowly turns his head towards the outside, it's like, "But how can you stop me if you don't exist?" And it's just like all I could think of is Wendy and Seuss in the car as he's just slowly like turning his head, just like whispering that like maniacally. It's just like,
What's going on with Dipper
yeah.
today?
It's like it's not like those two haven't been through the weird things. Like I'm pretty sure after the shapeshifter, like they probably like known something was up. But so anyway, we go to the theater and um yeah, as it shows Bill Bippler sitting there with arms around Wendy and Seuss as Wendy is not having it. He's like, "Ah, nothing like the theater, huh?" That's and and then he turns to Seuss, "Hey Seuss, you want to know the exact time and date of your death?" And Seuss like, "Okay." And yeah, so but it shows them all sitting there. Mabel's like, "I'm glad you all made it," and Stan's like, "Are you kidding me? I would never miss whatever this is." And Bill pretty much asks Mabel, "Where'd you put my journal?" And she lets uh Bill know that it's in the big wedding scene, and I still need a reverend. As Bill's like, "Ah, you need a reverend? I mean, someone's got to hold that journal, right?" And Mabel's like, "Yeah, let's go." And yeah, all that's going through. Um, as like Dipper's there trying to like, "No, stop!" like yelling at them all. Um, and then yeah, so pretty much Mabel's like looking through the curtains as Gabe sits down with his puppets as they flick the lights to let them know that the show's about to start. Uh it's Grenda once again giving another one liner. "The show's about to begin. Turn off your cell phones unless you're texting me, cuties." As yeah, we pretty much the the curtain rises and everyone applauses, and we see Candy dressed like David Bowie. A reference that I don't know how many children who watched this the first time understood.
Probably not many,
Um,
if any.
yeah, especially now if they're watching it now. Um, and yeah, and so she kind of gives a little opening before rolled off stage, and it's pretty much this whole we see the whole play thing where it's a Dipper puppet pops out of a window and sings like, "Hey, look, it's Mabel," and then puppet Mabel sings, "Hi there." And then there's a puppet Seuss, a puppet Stan, and like they're all like, "Hey, it's Mabel," and they all start singing together. And it's like, "Who is that girl with the pig in the braces?" She puts a smile on everyone's faces, and it cuts to Gabe smiling and nods along. And it's like, "When you're around, you're never bored." And then Puppet Mayor shows up. "I'm the mayor, and here's an award." and and then you go and like it's pretty much just like honestly it what it really reminds me of is Dayman
From Always
from
Sunny. I
yeah
can see that.
it's just a lot more team uh but yeah, so pretty much they all like it's just pretty much Mabel confessing her love and affection towards Gabe and puppets. um we cut to while all this is going on, Bill's standing next to Grenda, just like, "Hey," and he's like dressed up as like um kind of like, oh wow, I cannot pronounce that word, a viscerage.
I don't
I don't know.
know.
Pretty much like the what you normally see in traditional media for like Catholic father, where they have the collar and like he has like a kind of a long coat. He's like, so when do I get to do this wedding scene thing? And he's like, wedding cake. Where's the book prop I'm using for the wedding scene? It's like, it's in the wedding cake, but it doesn't come down till Act Three, so hold your horses. And he's like, his Bill's like, I'll hold my horses. I'll hold them, you monster.
So mean to
And
her.
yeah, well, he's not really nice to a lot of people. Um, so anyway, Dipper's flying around just like, where's Mabel? And like, in his ghost form, and no one can really say anything as the show goes on, as we're now like, um is like Puppet, Mabel, and Gabe are together, and Puppet Gabe's just like, sorry, I gotta go off to fight in the war. As the helmet lands on his head and he yells into a ravaged flaming background with a roar of a gigantic, many tentacled monster appears as lasers flash, fog rolls in, and gunshots are heard.
I love his muscly body that like she made out
Yes.
of cardboard to put on top of him.
And just like whoop, and everyone's like, we'll wait for you, and then intermission begins. Um it shows Mabel in her waiting room as we see the Dipper puppet kind of just flying up behind her and just like talking to the puppet. Dipper's like, it's me. and she does a spit take, and as Mabel, what she say, it's come to life, the puppet books didn't warn me about this, as she throws a fork at it. And pretty much Dipper explains to her like, hey, Bill has control of my body, and he tricked me, and now he's coming after the journal, like, and he's trying to destroy it, like pretty much all this stuff. As Mabel's like, look, my cue's coming any moment, as Gabe comes back, and he's just very impressed with the show, as she's like holding the Dipper puppet behind her back, and as where we see what Dipper looks like. It's not like he's possessing the puppet, he just has his hand in it.
Mm-hmm.
And which is interesting because it's the same hand that Bill was smacking into the drawer. That is,
In
he's
pain.
like, yeah, it's like he's like, this doesn't feel great. Um, so Gabe's like, yeah, okay, it's very clear that you love puppets and you went whole hog. And he's like, at the end, maybe you can join me for a biscotti. Um, or maybe like, you drive a biscotti. For people who don't know, biscotti is an Italian cookie.
Bugatti
I
is a car.
Yes, I know what a biscotti is because my Italian mother made it many a times. So it's like a very dry, big cookie.
It's mainly for like teas and coffees, right?
Well, you can also make it a little bit sweeter to eat by itself,
Mm.
but which that's what my mom did. So she didn't make it often, but she made it every once in a while. Um, so yeah, so anyway, like Mabel's like, Dipper's like, pretty much asks her like, do you want to be a sock puppet forever? Mabel's like, no. But who's gonna run the show? As it pretty much um it cuts to Dipper providing all the voices and everything of the puppet, and it's like a very clear production value change, as it's like he's holding Puppet, Mabel, and Gabe, and it's just like, Gabe, you're back from the war, and yes, I am. Want to kiss and sing at the same time? Okay, as he just make kissing sound effects, and he's like, seriously?
The
What's going
audience
on
goes
here?
wild.
Which is interesting because this whole time, well, no, I guess he was talking to the puppets, because I'm like, this whole time he couldn't talk, but I guess if he's wearing the puppets he can now
He
talk.
has a vessel, yeah.
Yes. So anyway, Mabel is on the catwalk and sees how everyone's like doing that, and tries to reach for the journal before jumping in there. And just before the what the cake prop is about to hit the stage, it stops and gets pulled back up as Dipper's there, and pretty much uh sorry, there's so many noises. There's a train now. Uh
I've never heard a train by you. Any
yeah,
other time we recorded.
we're normally recording at different times. Um uh well, it's a freight train. That's why I'm hearing it so much louder.
Mm.
We also don't record on a Monday. So anyway, um so as yeah, so Dipper. Oh, Dipper and the I was getting confused on who was who. So Mabel's going back and she's trying to flip through the book real quick how to find out how to put Dipper back. And Bill's like, "Well, why do you want to do that?" And she said, "Pill Dipper, Dipper." um, and Bill's threatening to drop the cake. And then Mabel Plummeting is like, "Oh, it's let me hand that book." And he's like, "No way, it's Dipper's." And as Bill was like, "You didn't seem a problem taking it for your own play, ditching him when he needed you. So come to your senses, give me the book or your play's ruined." And Mabel sighs me the hand over the book as Bill continues. He's like, "There it is. I mean, who would sacrifice everything they worked for just for their dumb sibling?" As
Dipper?
Mabel says,
Mabel.
"Dip." Yes, Mabel says Dipper would. As Bill, um, misunderstanding human connection, is confused as Mabel pulls him to the cake. The cake falls to the stage, and Dipper's puppet Stan is like, uh, it's like, "I'm giving you away. You are a woman now." Waddles the rings as Waddles comes up and just squeals and says, "Wait, what?" As the cake falls down. Thank goodness he was just in spirit form because that would have killed and destroyed probably anybody underneath there. Um, as the Mabel and Bill tumble out of the cake as fog and lasers go off, and Mabel's yelling, "Get out of my brother's body, you evil triangle!" As Stan finally, whoa, children fighting, as he pulls out a camera. He's like, "I can sell this." Um, as yeah, Mabel pretty much gets a little away, and Bill's like, um, pretty much like, "You can't stop me. I'm a being of pure energy with no weaknesses." And he's like, "True, but you're in Dipper's body, and I know all his weaknesses and what he means." And she gives him a little tickle where he's just like, "Ah, body spasms. What are these?" And where she goes like, "And another little note about the human body: you haven't slept in 24 hours." As they're running around a circle, and I got a full night's sleep, and I'm on 4 mega shots of Mabel juice. And he's like, "What is this feeling?" As he starts wheezing, "My body is burning. I can't move these stupid noodle eggs. Curse you, useless flesh sticks." Body shutting down. Must scratch. Mosquito bites. As Bill is ejected from Dipper's body, and Dipper goes back in, and he's like, "Yes, I'm in my own body," and it's just as underwhelming as I remember. As he stands up and he's like, "And everything hurts." So Bill's like, this will oh, and he's in like one of the
Dipper puppet.
yeah, he's in okay, yeah, there it is. The Dipper puppet, and he's like, "This isn't the last you heard of me." And Mabel's like, "I'm sorry, Gabe," as she pushes the big finish as this pyrotechnics of fireworks and everything shoots out, and the stage and the puppets and everything explodes in fire as Gabe is playing Ave Maria. Ave Maria.
He looks
Wow.
so hurt.
Yeah, and he's just, as it says, "Look of shock," and he's just like, "No," as there's fire, and then it just explodes as Dipper's stomping on the Dipper puppet, as they're all like, "Yeah," as everything crashes behind them, and Mabel's like, "Don't worry, I've seen enough movies to know this is the part where it thinks it was all part of the show and loves it." A second of silence, and then everyone just starts booing and getting up and leaving the theater, and like, "We almost died," as Graves stands frowning, and Mabel's like, "Stick around for the rat party. We got mini quiches." And Gabe, it's like, "Don't speak to me, Mabel. You made a mockery of my art form. Let's go, my love." As he walks away, kissing the puppets. As differently, did that guy just make out with puppets? and and Mabel, for the first time, is, I might have dodged a bullet there. As we see Candy running after him. "Wait, Gabe, Candy still loves you." um, and Dipper apologizes and is like, "Well, and the Mabel puppet still survived, and she says pretty much apologized to the puppet, and he's like, yeah, just like pretty much the reunites and just like, yeah, let's go solve this thing. As they fist bump and Tipper like is in pain, he's like, what to build it in my hand? Well, we know what you did to your hand. You watched what he did to your hand. Um, and he's like, yeah, nothing a little sleep can't fix. And it's like Tipper's like, I need to go to the hospital. As we get to the credits, and it shows a real sock puppet, real life sock puppet of Dipper and Mabel, and it just says, "Hey Dipper," what did the one sock puppet say to the other? Dipper puppet says, "I don't know, Mabel, what?" And he's like, "No, you really use a hand." As they start laughing, as it shows, um, puppet
High
Stan and old,
definition puppet
yeah,
Stan and
like
Old Man McGucket.
yes, which I'm blanking on the.
The movie reviewers, right?
No, it is a actual Muppet old man uh couple's not the wrong word, but it's just like it's
Oh,
these two old,
hecklers. Yeah.
yeah, and that I'm blanking on their name, but it's like that's all that they do. Like whenever they show up, they're always in like some higher up area looking down at everybody. They're but yeah, like McGuck is like, that joke was really something, and Stan's like, yeah, something terrible, and then like they laugh, like all that as Mabel wakes up screaming and turns the puppet away.
Goes back to
Um,
sleep.
yeah. um, and but no, that is, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the references or illusions or whatever it is. They Puppet McGucket and Stan are based off of
Uh,
Muppets.
it says
Um,
Statler and
Statler,
Waldorf.
yes, Statler and Waldorf. They're two old man puppets that whenever they're in there, they're always like in this balcony seating as they sit up there. And one of the lines I can remember a lot because I watched Muppets Christmas Carol a lot. There's like this whole show, like someone gives a speech, and they're like, it's just like, thank you for coming and enjoy the food. And they're like, and they're both up and it's like, that was it? Yeah. And it's like, it was short. It was pointless. There wasn't like, why'd you even say that? And they both look and say, we loved it. And they just like, that's all they do is just heckle the whole time, and they're great. But yeah, that is what that references to. Um, so yeah. That is, and then the little code at the end is puppet masters are reptoids who have infiltrated our government. So,
Fun. All right. So for series continuity or character revelations for this episode, it says that the twins have a twin-based handshake, which we've seen a lot.
mhm,
I'm gonna skip ones that don't seem pertinent to anything in the long term.
mhm.
Apparently, it says Candy has the same keyboard Seuss has. I don't know if that's on purpose or that's coincidental.
It's the only keyboard in Gravity Falls.
Yeah, I think these revelations are kind of fine. There's nothing in there that's like really gonna matter in the end.
Yeah.
Series continuity, we have Bill uses Stan's line from Tourist Trap, the eeny miny you, in a different context for the tension in this episode. There's a bit of a spoiler in here, so I'm not going to read that one.
Hmm.
They're in the library again, so the library is used more than once throughout the show.
Hmm.
The laptop we've already talked about. Oh, it says the home screen of the laptop looks similar to the universe portal as seen in Gideon Rises and Scarioki when those get built by Gideon and
Hmm.
Stan. Or Gideon wants to build it, but Stan actually finishes it. Um,
Yeah. There's reappearance of Mabel sweaters.
yeah, it's fine.
Um,
Oh, they've taped back together the previously torn Boys Crazy poster. That's hanging on a wall somewhere. The Electron carpet from Carpet Diem and Tumbleweed Terror from Bottomless Pit are seen in the attic when Bill makes a deal with Dipper. That's fun.
mhm. Oh, I
You're...
finally saw. I sent it to you. I don't know if you watched it.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to watch it.
The hide behind.
Yeah.
I'm like, I watched that and I'm like, man, it is like all lighthearted and stuff. And I'm like, man, a few tone changes that would be really creepy.
But yeah, otherwise, the series continuity are just smaller things that we've already
Oh,
mentioned.
I didn't realize that Agent Powers and Trigger are in the audience.
Oh, I missed that line.
Yeah, it's the last one.
That's fun.
Um,
Hiding their faces, but also want to see the sock opera.
yeah.
In terms of illusions, it says that the whole deal with Dipper and Bill is an allusion to Faust, where they make a deal and they make a trade, and eventually Faust has to get outsmarted, which is like Dipper versus Dipper and Mabel both outsmart Bill. Apparently, this always screaming head is based on a character or a scene from Game of Thrones. Haven't watched it, can't speak to it. You already
Yep, me neither.
mentioned. Hmm?
Me neither. I never
Yeah.
watched Game of Thrones.
Already mentioned the David Bowie outfit. When Dipper is mad at Mabel for Mabel trying to postpone getting Dipper's body back, he's angry and Mabel says the line. She's like, "Oh, you're so cute when you're angry like that," and then it emphasizes the aggravated face, which is basically like the
Hmm.
aggravated Kermit the Frog face that's all over the internet.
Yes.
Um, they claim that the outfit that Bipper is wearing is based on a character named Harry Powell from The Night of the Hunter. I'm not familiar. You already mentioned Ave Maria. We talked about Statler and Waldorf. And yeah. And then the final
Apparently,
credits.
there's when Dipper's falling through the floor, there's a government listening device in the open way.
Oh, that's fun too. That explains the agents being there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that's all I had to add on to the end of the episode. So I ask you, who are you the most like this episode?
Um, I'm gonna find the list of characters because I don't know. There's some and there's some other. Let's see. Yeah. So Dipper. I guess real quick, I throw on them. Dipper is just tirelessly trying to figure out this thing that everyone kind of said, yeah, we'll totally work with you, and just no one's helping, so he's just doing it. Mabel is equally working hard on something to impress a man. As Grunkle Stan is just not for any of it. He's just like, okay, these weirdos are doing something in my house. Asus is just happy to be involved. I think also with Wendy. And Bill is well, he's there doing his own things. I also don't understand why additional voices that has Old Man McGucket and Bill in separate things from Tipper, Mabel, and the other ones because it's like they
Yeah.
they're all like Bill is in there just as much. But anyway, um, I'm mostly Candy.
How thirsty of you.
No, I don't know. Like I feel like there's part of me that would have been like Uncle Sam where he just walks in and just sees everything. I'm like, I can't afford to get involved with this right now.
Today's not the day for this.
Yeah, I could see parts of that. Um, I can also see parts. I'm gonna say Dipper because not so much making the deal and stuff, but like a lot of that frustration comes from the part where he like Mabel promised him that he was gonna help like multiple times, and it's like it's something that they've planned out and everything, and she just keeps shoving it to the side where he gets like extremely frustrated, and it's like I've been in that situation a bunch of times, not so much recently. Like when it happens recently, it's more like people on the internet or stuff where I'm like, no, it's not that big of a deal. Um, but I remember the past, especially when certain people would get into relationships and then disappear and then make plans and then just cancel them to go hang out with whoever. It was a little frustrating. It was like, well, then why even make the plan? So,
Fair. Yeah, I'd say based on that, I'm probably also most like Dipper this episode too, because yeah, Mabel it has a one-track mind and is like putting aside other things, saying that her own interests at this very moment are, like the only thing she can think about. That's not really my style. Seuss and Wendy are just along for the ride. They don't really get many speaking parts in this. Bill's making deals.
I would
Stan.
say like from stuff that we won't share on recorded stuff, but like how you reacted to some people in the past when you told me you could be Wendy reacting to Bill, just like, who are you?
What is this?
Gross.
But we don't really get her perspective on
Yes,
any of it,
I
so it's
know.
hard to say.
And you could also be Candy because I seen you play a little bit of Hades and Stardew.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am very 2D boy crazy, but in person, I
Well, they're in a
I
2D
would
world.
I would not sit and say I'm going to steal them from you. I've never looked at another significant other of a friend's and gone, you know what? He will be mine. No, no, no. That's not my style. So I think I'm
Why
gonna
not?
say
It's also America's favorite pastime.
I'll put Dipper as well. But who would you say was your favorite this episode? Is it Bill?
Uh, yeah, it's I.
Easy.
Yes, it's I don't know. It might be the fact that I'm a forever DM and I have a soft spot in my heart for villains, but it's just like he's just so bonkers. It cracks me up.
Yeah,
He
it
finds
was
the
crazy.
loopholes.
Yeah, it was
Sorry,
also
go
crazy seeing him manipulate both of them because he was trying to
ahead.
manipulate Mabel, but it's also a fun little comment he makes that's more important towards the end of the series where he's like, "Who would be dumb enough to give up everything for a sibling?" And we're like, "Oh, well, if only you're on a rewatch."
Yeah. Well, it's I think I also like him because he's well written to where it's just like he he has this weakness of like he like as we'll kind of as time goes on we'll see how powerful he truly is, but it's like his biggest weakness is his like own hubris and the fact that he can't shut up. And it's
He,
like
yeah, he really thinks that nobody is better than him.
mhm. And it's like it's not like the normal villain where it's just like I'm going to share all my plans. He's like, "No, I'm not going to share your plans because you're too stupid to realize my plans." And then we'll just berate people until it's just like they like it just gives them time to like think or just figure something out. And it's just
Yeah,
like
and
and
then with
that's what we see in
him,
this episode.
he also never makes up a backup plan because he always assumes he's foolproof. Like, he never second guesses himself. He's just like, this is how it's going to work and I'm going to win. And they're like, hey, but we did this. And he's like, I didn't consider that. I didn't
This
consider you
changes
guys.
nothing.
Yeah.
I
I will be back with a vengeance.
Yeah, and I'll say I do the same thing. I only come up with one plan, but that's mainly because if I come up with multiple plans, my brain won't be able to handle multiple plans, and I'm like, "Wah!"
I
But
think
anyway,
my favorite
go
this
ahead.
episode was Grenda. She
Yes.
is just a little sprinkle of the boy crazy, but she's not so much as malicious as the way that Candy comes off. Like, whether or not they intended it that way, Candy does come off as a little bit of a little home wrecker, a little boyfriend stealer. And then, yeah, Grenda is just like, he is hot, but if anybody cute wants to text me during the show, you can have your phone on.
Yep. So it's uh well, technically Mabel and Gabe aren't dating yet.
No,
Or
but Candy's line is, I must steal him.
yeah, she likes ponytails.
Yeah,
And
but
apparently boys with no hands.
puppet hands.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't have anything else to add to this episode. Do you?
No, you know what? If we ever did like a premiere thing, we should go and make our own sock puppets of ourselves.
That's how we introduce ourselves. But yeah,
Hmm.
so thank you everyone for listening. We always appreciate it if you've made it this far. We would also really appreciate if you left us ratings, reviews, comments, likes, all the things that you can do for podcasts depending on what platform you're on. I brain farted. Share us with people. Share us with enemies, friends, classmates,
Smelly.
teachers, coworkers, bosses, your pets.
That man you're trying to steal.
That man you're trying to steal.
Man, if somebody gave you this episode, it's not worth it. Just run. Run from it all. Become a druid. Summon fish.
Summon fish or become the fish.
Both.
But yeah.
There's a movie like that. It's an old movie. But yes, before we get stuck on another brain tangent, is we're both tired and possibly hungry. Bye-bye!